It's Friday, June 12th, 2026. I'm Brittany Noble, and here's what's coming up on the breakdown. The Supreme Court blocks Alabama from carrying out the execution of 49-year-old Jeffery Lee using nitrogen gas. I'll explain why federal courts ruled the controversial method may violate constitutional protections against cruel and unusual punishment. And for thousands of students, a college education can mean the difference between poverty and opportunity. Missouri lawmakers are proposing funding cuts that have the students at the state's only public HBCU in Missouri worried about their future. And there's a new book that explores identity, belonging, and community among Black gay men in Los Angeles. I'll talk with the author of Shameless, The Making of Black Gay Identities in LA. The breakdown starts now. Start with a breakdown of the headlines and the stories that you need to know about from across Black America. The Supreme Court blocks Alabama from proceeding with an execution using nitrogen gas. Thursday's decision upholds lower court rulings that found the state's protocol likely violates the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. Federal courts previously intervened in the case of Black death row inmate 49-year-old Jeffery Lee, who was scheduled for execution on Thursday for a 1998 double murder. His attorneys successfully argued that the state's nitrogen gas method subjects inmates to painful suffocation and air hunger. On Wednesday, U.S. District Judge Emily Marks permanently prohibited Alabama from using nitrogen gas on Lee, saying the method is unconstitutional, and said Lee's option for a firing squad was a more feasible and less painful alternative. Lee is being held at Holman Correctional Facility in Atmore for his conviction of 2 counts of capital murder for killing Jimmy Ellis and Elaine Thompson while robbing a pawn shop on December 12th of 1998. The body of a missing Philadelphia 8th grader who went missing while attending a school trip in Wildwood, New Jersey, has been recovered. His grandmother is questioning school officials about why the teen entered the water fully clothed with his swim shorts still on the beach. DeVorest Carter III was found dead on Wednesday near the U.S. Coast Guard Training Center in Cape May after a massive multi-agency week-long search. 14-year-old Carter, affectionately called Peter, vanished in the ocean on June 1st. Authorities and emergency responders were alerted to multiple swimmers in distress just before 1:30 p.m. A responding police officer, along with lifeguards and other first responders, successfully rescued 3 from the water, but Carter remained unaccounted for. An extensive search involving the U.S. Coast Guard, New Jersey State Police, local law enforcement agencies, rescue boats, and helicopters continued for days as family members held on to hope that the teen would be found. The loss has deeply affected the Philly community. Carter was a student at Delta School and was only 2 days away from graduating from the 8th grade. Well, the Atlanta Police Department has ruled a 2025 road rage shooting and killing of a Black 21-year-old man justifiable homicide. In October of 2025, Damari Jordan was killed in a shootout and a hit and run on Interstate 75 near the North Side Drive in Atlanta. Jordan was involved in an altercation with an unnamed driver in a Ford pickup truck. Both of them pulled over to the shoulder, exited their vehicles, and allegedly exchanged gunfire. Police claim Jordan was the aggressor, but never found his weapon. The weapon in the incident report belonged to the truck driver who shot Jordan multiple times. He then fell into the road and was hit by 2 cars, one driven by a Georgia State police officer. Police told Jordan's family that he was shot twice, but the funeral home listed that he was shot 15 times. Atlanta police say the case is closed, but Jordan's family continues to call for answers and accountability. Former Texas Turkey Leg Hut restaurant co-owner Lindell Lynn Price pleaded guilty in federal court for his role in the 2020 firebombing of a Houston nightclub. Price admitted to directing and paying people to set fire to Bar 5015 after his former business partner refused to sell his stake in the Turkey Leg Hut. On June 12th of 2020, Price's co-conspirators poured gas on the deck of Bar 5015 and ignited it, causing an explosion. Prosecutors say that Price is responsible for planning the arson for hire scheme after the bar owner declined his offer to buy the establishment. Price faces between 5 and 20 years in federal prison and a fine of up to $250,000. His sentencing is scheduled for September 25th. Price is the third of 5 co-defendants to admit guilt in the case. Additional drug and gun charges previously tied to his arrest are expected to be dropped as part of the plea deal. A Black Louisiana woman is suing her white neighbors for racist harassment and vandalism caused by their teen son. Caroline Morrison Howard claims that the 13-year-old has engaged in several attacks, including dressing in a KKK robe, spray painting Hail Hitler and a racial slur on her home, puncturing her tires, and then carving a swastika in her car. She says these incidents have been occurring since December and wants the parents to pay her for property damage, as well as for the mental pain and suffering that she has experienced. The 13-year-old, whose name has not been released, has been arrested and charged with criminal damage to property, criminal trespass, and hate crimes. The man accused of carrying out a deadly attack targeting 2 Minnesota lawmakers and their families pleads guilty to multiple federal charges, including stalking, murder through the use of firearm, and firearm-related offenses. Under the plea agreement, he faces life in prison, and prosecutors say they will not seek the death penalty. 58-year-old Vance Luther Bolter confessed to stalking and murdering former Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark Hortman, in June of 2025. Bolter also pleaded guilty to stalking and shooting Minnesota State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, Yvette. Prosecutors say the couple's daughter was also targeted during the attack. Judge John R. Turnham says he will schedule a formal sentencing hearing later this summer where victims will be allowed to speak. All right, coming up after the break on The Breakdown, Capital B reporter Alicia Taylor will join us to explain what a proposed funding change by state lawmakers could mean for students at Missouri's only public HBCU. Stay with us. We have much more after the break. And remember, for more news headlines and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day, you can check out the Black Star Network. We want to be your source for stories that matter to our community. We'll be right back.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
I'm Risa Colbert, and you're watching the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
They've been trying to erase black political power since Reconstruction. Now the Supreme Court is helping them finish the job. First came Shelby County versus Holder in 2013, the ruling that gutted the Voting Rights Act. Then came Brnovich in 2021, another ruling, another piece torn away. Now comes Calais, the case civil rights leaders warned could cripple the last major federal protection against racial vote dilution. And within days, Tennessee eliminated its only majority black congressional district. Louisiana, South Carolina, Alabama. The same strategy is spreading across the South. The old Jim Crow used poll taxes and literacy tests. The new Jim Crow uses gerrymandered maps, voter roll purges, polling place closures, and court rulings that make black communities politically invisible. 1965 was Freedom Summer. This is Freedom Summer 2.0, because they are still trying to erase black political power, and we will not bow.
Decade of love, joy, and power. Black Voters Matter is 10 years old, and we are just getting started. This is love with a purpose. This is black joy in motion. This is unstoppable power. Across campuses, neighborhoods, and back roads,
Let's go!
we show up not just to vote, but to be seen, to be heard, to belong. We ride together. We organize together. We remind each other that our voices matter, because they always have. Black Voters Matter is about more than ballots. It's about housing and healthcare, clean water and living wages, education, reproductive freedom, and dignity. It's about turning pain into action, turning belief into movement, turning community into power. We don't wait to be invited. We bring the energy. We bring the love. We bring the people. Because when black communities come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. This is how change happens. This is how history moves. We organize, we build, we win.
Today's Black and Missing, we're asking for your help finding Lee Chambers. He was last seen at his home on 5404 Myrtle Street in Baker, Louisiana. His family says he may be suffering from the beginning stages of dementia and could have possibly lost his way on the way to a convenience store in his neighborhood. If you have any information, please contact police at 225-775-6000. All right, in case you missed it last night on Roland Martin Unfiltered, if you watch CNN at all during the Trump administration, you've surely at some point seen the work of Daniel Dale. That's the network's lead on air fact checker. But now Dale has seemingly gone missing, not appearing on air at all since February, despite continuing to publish articles on CNN's website. Roland talks about this mystery in depth.
Folks, we are living in a day when mainstream media is scared to death. They are weak, and the right wing is owning all of it. Let's just take CNN, okay? It was 3 months ago when David Ellison announced they were making this bid for Warner Discovery. And so what did they end up doing? They ended up beating out Netflix, really because Trump put his thumb on the scale and made clear that they were only going to approve their acquisition. So there's a guy named Daniel Dale from Canada, and he has been excellent at fact-checking the lying, corrupt, twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald the Con Trump. Well, it's interesting that he hasn't been on the air in 3 months. Now, mind you, still works at CNN. They still post his stuff on the website. He's posting on social. They do these other social videos, but he literally has not been on any show at all in 3 months. Guys, I worked at CNN for 6 years. Do you understand that that is a conscious decision by executives? What that says is that executives have said to show producers, do not put him on the air. Donald Trump hates when he's on the air because what he does is he exposes the lies of Donald Trump. He goes fact by fact by fact. And every time he lies, he exposes them. Now, you would think that a news network that claims that they are unbiased, they are objective, would want for the truth to be told. But that's not what's going on here. They don't want to be on the bad side of Donald Trump. And this is one of the reasons why mainstream media really is lamestream media, is because they have no integrity, no honor. You see what's going on with Barry Weiss and CBS and 60 Minutes and how that's an absolute shit show. You see how these other people are just so scared to death. You see how Donald Trump just pimped these networks, and he forced that settlement with ABC, and he forced the settlement with CBS. And basically they were paying bribes to him, and everybody's trying to get on his good side. But when you have a network that says, oh, we're not going to put on our fact checker, and then they don't give a real explanation. There was a statement they gave to status.news that, oh, he's still a member of our network, blah, blah, blah. Y'all, that's total BS. And according to their report, he's moved back to Canada. I would not be surprised that Daniel Dale announces in the next 3 months he's no longer with CNN. And that's what you're seeing right now. If y'all want to understand why independent media is so critically important, it's because what you are seeing is a complete capitulation of mainstream media. We are no foxes in the can for them, but these people are scared to death of them. You do not have today media executives who have the guts of a Bill Paley, a David Sarnoff, a Leonard Golderson, who have the guts of a Katharine Graham. You don't have that going on today. What you have are corporate interests who say, listen, we make our money elsewhere. We don't want to be on his bad side because this guy is going to seek retribution. He's going to make our life difficult. So what they have said is, we will gladly allow this man to lie with impunity, to attack our reporters, and we're not going to say anything in response to his lies. And that is what's going on here. There is no explanation that CNN, Mark Thompson, and any of those executives can give at CNN as to why Daniel Dale is not on the air. And folks, this is going to continue. They will continue to bow down. They will continue to capitulate. They will continue to suck up to this man because they do not want to hold him accountable. And that, to me, is an absolute shame. There's no other way to look at this. And what we are witnessing, Greg, I want to go to you first. What we are seeing consistently, they did this at the outset, and they're saying now, you know what? It's 2 more years, so we're just going to go ahead and just do whatever we need to do to make this man feel comfortable, because we are not going to hold him accountable. And you can see it in their reporting, in the editorial decision making. And I'm telling you right now, if that means that more and more people stop watching them, stop supporting them, good, because these people do not care about the truth.
No, they don't, Roland. And I think you'll be doing a lot of unpacking, analysis, a lot of reporting over the next few months as many of these illusions continue to fall. We saw the racist Elon Musk offering $155 shares in his illusion, selling people on a dream of going to Mars today. That will soon burst. Some investors are like, "You're selling snake oil, my friend." And of course, there with Paramount CNN, we saw David Ellison basically trying to kiss Leslie Stahl's ass this week, saying that I'm not going to interfere with 60 Minutes. Yeah, whatever, because the thing is already crumbling. We certainly see Barry Weiss embarrassing herself to the point where they may pull her back as they absorb CNN. And what does that have to do with Daniel Dale? Well, as you just said, it isn't that he has disappeared. He's written 6 articles in just this month. The latest a couple of days ago, where he got into the lies that Bozo told Kristen Welker at Meet the Press. And he's been doing short form video on Instagram. So the question I would have for you, brother, as we see the eyeballs continuing to drop, I'm sorry, Byron Allen, I don't know why you took that deal, man, but they said it was an 85% drop off from Stephen Colbert to whatever that thing is, Comedians Unchained, Unleashed, whatever it is. As people turn away from broadcast media, now cable television, I guess my question to you, as we see people following suit with what you've already done, whether it be Zateo or whoever else has been put off of those platforms, my question to you is, does Daniel Dale, does this quote unquote disappearance, does this shifting of where he has appeared from camera to the digital platforms, to the writing he continues to do, is it a big deal? What does that say in terms of his ability to get information out to the public? I'm not sure in this shifting landscape whether I have a good handle on that, brother.
Well, I'll tell you. So let me just sit here and let me do a basic check. So if I'm sitting, again, sort of how I think about this. So let's see here. So if I go to Daniel Dale, I'm looking on Instagram. I'm trying to find his correct account. But if I'm him, what I'm going to do is, and this is my advice to Daniel Dale, do exactly what I did at CNN. Control your own social media, control your Instagram, control your Twitter account, your TikTok account, and then when your contract is up, it's clear CNN is not going to renew it, and you've actually built something that the public actually is supporting, and then do it yourself. And you can actually build your larger audience than what CNN is giving you. But what they're doing is, and I know exactly what they're doing, because Cameron did the exact same thing to me. The exact same thing to me in 2012. 2012, CNN made a decision. And Mark Whitaker, Jim Walton had announced that he was stepping down from CNN. Mark Whitaker, the brother, was the number 2. And he never liked me, never wanted me on the air. And they made a decision to take me off the air at the Republican National Convention. The night before the Democrat National Convention, I got a call from Lucy Spiegel saying, we're not going to need you this week. And I'm like, the convention ain't even started yet. They purposely said, we're not going to use you on debate nights, because they had a meeting and said he's not going to become a star like he did in 2008. That's how they do it. They take you off the air.
That can be one of the most freeing things for Daniel Day. And for that, I think 2 things. One, we understand that they really are playing to an audience of one.
Say it again.
Donald Trump. They're playing to an audience of one, Donald Trump, and they know Trump. It's famous to be reported that he sits and spends hours with multiple television screens, Fox, MSNBC, CNN, looking at, and that's what controls him. And then what he sees on social media is carefully curated by the people who are closest to him to watch, to be able to show him what's there and not. But they can't necessarily control what he sees on TV. So they understand that with the pressure that the FCC can impose upon them, and their larger media conglomerate that they're continuing to build out, they have an audience of one. And as long as he doesn't see the faces and the challenges or the aggressive challenges on the main screen,
It's not there. But as you've done, as so many of others have done, and those who are leaving, there is a challenge to transition that broadcast audience as it does dwindle, and to make sure you're really feeding the internet. And while there is some natural crossover there from cable TV and so forth, it's still, the internet speaks a little bit differently. It moves a lot faster. And quite frankly, his biggest advantage, his only real advantage on being CNN really was the clips he was getting off of CNN anyway to put back on social to build his audience. So now he should be tripling down on that. And continue to be able to create partnerships online where he could probably grow a larger audience than he ever had on CNN. Because guess what? The same way as you are, and so many others who were first on TV and have now shifted to online and other mediums, you already have the CNN stamp. He already has the CNN stamp. He's been there. He doesn't need to stay there in order to now move his brand of journalism and his personality and his audience.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Larry, I knew what they were doing. I knew that they purposely took me off the air, and they kept putting Van Jones and Charles Blow on the air, even though I was far more popular and far more experienced. That was a decision. I mean, there was no other logic. There's no other logic you could say, wait, hold up. How are we not using him, one of the best voices we have on the air? Because they literally had a meeting. And in the meeting, they said, we need to find out another Roland Martin. Somebody said, well, we already have Roland Martin. No, we need to find out another Roland Martin. They said, literally, I was told this by somebody who was in the room. They said, we do not want this person to become a star in the 2012 election like they did in 2008. So I know exactly what they're doing to Daniel Dale. They're still paying him. He's still under contract, and you can still do this little small stuff, but they're purposely keeping him off the air. That is a choice by the executives at the top of the network, pure and simple. And what they've done, Larry, they've said to the VPs and the executive producers of the shows, do not book him on the show or any of your shows.
Yeah, absolutely, Roland. And they got him in a bit of a modified witness protection program, right? So he could do some things, but he's basically disappeared off the air. And I think, my colleagues highlighted it. What happened to you in CNN and what you were able to do and continue to do is the template. And that's why so many other folks have done it. You highlighted Daniel should really take the opportunity, whether, obviously he's mentioned he's back in Canada. But once again, as Cameron said, he's already been on CNN. So now he has the opportunity to use that, like we said, whenever his contract is up, to use whatever platform he wants to use and continue to fact check. And once again, he's got the recognizable name. He's got the brand. He is the brand. And so a lot of what's happening with some of these cable networks and other larger platforms is, back in the day, it was like, the network is larger than the personality, but that is not the case anymore. We're a personality-driven society. And so individuals who have the talent, have the personality, and are willing to make the sacrifice can start their own platforms and be actually bigger, as Cameron said, bigger than the network. The other thing to highlight, Roland, is this is one of the challenges with capitalism. You talked about some of these mergers, and this is one of the reasons why, Daniel in this situation, but generally when it comes to Black folks, whether it's TV, media, communications, or other platforms, that capitalism will not save us. And that we're going to have to find other creative ways to maneuver around some of these challenges rooted in greed, to make sure that the messages get out to the Black community.
Well, I hope you will join the Black Star Network later on today for Roland Martin Unfiltered. His show begins at 6 p.m. Eastern right here on the Black Star Network. Well, after the break, Capitol B reporter Alicia Taylor will join us to explain what a proposed funding change by Missouri lawmakers could mean for students at its only public HBCU. Stay with us.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Rhea Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to the other side of change.
Back to the breakdown. Well, a proposed funding change in Missouri nearly cost the state's only public HBCU millions of dollars. A new report from Capitol B examines what that debate actually means for students at Harris-Stowe State University and the future of affordable higher education. Joining us now is Capitol B national education reporter Alicia Taylor. Thank you so much for joining us again on the breakdown.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Could you tell us a little bit more about Harris-Stowe?
Of course. So Harris-Stowe is actually one of two historically Black colleges in Missouri. There's Lincoln University as well, which is also a public HBCU. Both are land grants. But Harris-Stowe specifically was founded as a teacher's college, and it just honestly progressed over the years, and honestly, over the decades, they have expanded their programs to more than 60 academic offerings, and they remain one of the most affordable HBCUs in the state. But this funding debate that Missouri has going on, trying to resolve their $190 million budget shortfall, it's kind of falling onto the entire education system, not just the higher education system. And it's pretty kind of crucial that the two HBCUs in the state remain funded because they're very small HBCUs, unlike your bigger universities like Florida A&M and North Carolina A&T State. Harris-Stowe only has a little over 1,100 students, if that.
It's a very small school. I attended Harris-Stowe State University. I know it's right across the street from a very large university, St. Louis University there. Could you tell us the impact that these proposed funding changes could have on students at Harris-Stowe and then also at Lincoln too?
Of course. So I spoke to the president, Dr. LaTonya Smith Collins, and just talking to her, she was just saying that, if the budget issue hasn't been resolved, and I also want to mention that they did pull that part of the bill out that would defund these HBCUs just for now. But now that they already have a target on their backs, it is causing a bit of like tension in the area. And just, uncertainty is never a good thing. But when I spoke with the president, she was saying that if their funding is cut, or if they're not funding appropriately because they're already operating underfunded, as a lot of our HBCUs are, they will have to raise their tuition. And right now, Harris-Stowe State University, well, as an alum, is extremely affordable. It's actually one of the most, if not the most affordable in the state.
Yeah, so you're noting that, this issue could likely return?
Yes. So the issue has not been resolved. At first, when they suggested, it wasn't just HBCUs, it was just honestly putting a price tag on the amount of students that were enrolled. So for those like Truman State, of course, Mizzou, who has large populations, they would be getting more funding. That bill actually was pulled due to the backlash. But the author of the bill, Dirk Deaton, also said, just because, we pulled this out, we still have $190 million shortfall. We have to find, a way to cut this down. And so while that issue has been resolved, temporarily, they still have the entire calendar year to figure out, who's going to get their funding cut to resolve the budget.
How concerned are university leaders, you think, about what happens next?
Yes. Again, when I spoke to the president of Harris-Stowe State University, she she sounded a bit concerned even after that part of the bill was pulled. She was still a bit concerned, so concerned that she told me that she's actually on the committee that's going to reevaluate how they're going to fix this. And she said that she plans to go not just 100%, but 110% behind her university. So, people are still stressed. People are still concerned. Just because that part has been pulled, the issue has not been resolved.
Well, Alicia Taylor, we want to thank you so much for coming onto the show and for breaking down this, issue that's impacting not only Missouri HBCUs, but, we appreciate your reporting all across the nation, especially bringing that information to us on the breakdown and breaking it all down for us. So we hope that you will return again and bring us some more of your report with capital B.
Gotcha. Thank you.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right, we still have more ahead coming up on the breakdown. Stay with us.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Rhea Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All the momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Noble Spotlight today, we have a new book that is highlighting the experiences, resilience, and community of Black gay men in Los Angeles. Joining us now is Terrell J.A. Winder, author of Shameless, The Making of Black Gay Identities in LA. Welcome to The Breakdown.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
We are so happy to have you here too. Tell us about your new book, Shameless. What does being shameless mean to the people whose stories you tell?
Yeah, thank you. It was important for me to tell a story about the way that Black gay men in Los Angeles are building community and really learning how to live in a city with a very largely changing demographic very quickly. So how do you live to be Black and gay in a city like Los Angeles? So it's important for me to show how they're resisting stigma in everyday life.
And what inspired you to spend so many years researching and documenting the experiences of Black gay men in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I think, it's super important for us to continuously try to document what are the lived experiences of all of our Black communities right across the US. And in particular, I think in this moment, it was important for me to highlight how we are seeing Black gay communities and queer communities resist really erasure, right, at all levels. And so it was important for me to spend that time to document their stories and to capture it, both to kind of rectify what's been in the academic literature, but also to put it out there for anyone who's interested to learn from this community.
And you spend significant time listening to people's stories. Is there a conversation or a moment that stands out to you that changed the way that you personally think about identity and community and belonging?
Yeah, no, I think in many ways I learned in particular from young people that our families really do shape our trajectories. I had a young boy in the project who said that he wasn't able to go away to college because he was afraid that he would get harassed or bullied in school, or his mom didn't allow him to go to college because she was afraid that would give him too much freedom to express his sexuality. And so, really understanding how our communities can hinder us, but also push us forward into who we need to be in terms of our identities. So there's a lot of power in family and community that I think comes out in the work.
And you also wanted to highlight the importance of joy and pride, resilience.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's important that even though we have all of these things circulating at all times around racism, discrimination, prejudice, that it's important for us to think about how are people creating joy. And I think that's super important, especially in this month, in Pride Month, to celebrate how are Black queer folks all across the globe kind of creating joy and resistance and resilience in their everyday lives within their communities.
Of all the cities in the country, why was LA the right city for this research?
Yeah, I think LA becomes a great place for that. It's the second largest, city in the US. But in particular, I think Los Angeles has occupied kind of this public imaginary about these historically Black areas in California, Crenshaw, Baldwin Hills, Ladera Heights, right? But that the demographic populations are drastically changing, right? These Black neighborhoods are becoming less Black over time. So it was important for me to highlight this shifting change and then to really consider how are Black communities and Black individuals, Black identities still being formed while everything is kind of changing around it.
And how do you think people stay finding acceptance and navigate finding acceptance when also remaining authentic to exactly who they are inside?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think in particular, I would highlight part of the reason why I call the book Shameless is so much of what I was able to capture were young men who decided that no matter the threats to their lives, their emotional, spiritual selves, and to their physical selves, that they were going to live out open, shameless identities, being both Black and gay and claiming those identities publicly. And so I think finding that strength is really the process of relearning how to be comfortable with yourself after growing up, maybe not hearing so many positive things about it growing up.
The book challenges some stereotypes that often exist. What are some of those misconceptions that you hope readers reconsider after reading Shameless?
Yeah, I hope that many people, are able to think about what role they play in kind of extending stigma to other people, right? That we all play a role. Stigma is not something that, is just stuck on the one group of people, but we're all part of this together. And until we start to think about the struggles and the challenges that people have, even when they don't share the same identity, we'll never really get around to making this a more equitable society for all of us. So it's important that people see themselves in the stories of these young men and also consider what is their role in trying to make this a better life.
Oh, wonderful. Terrell, when did your books go on sale?
So the book was officially published this past Tuesday. So it's on sale and available from NYU Press, from Reparations Club in Los Angeles, and other places where books are sold.
All right. And what's the best way that we can stay connected to you and follow your work?
Yeah, my website is terrellwinder.com, and I'm on social media as Be More Terrell.
All right, Terrell Winder, thank you so much for joining us, author of Shameless, The Making of Black Gay Identities in LA. Pick it up. We appreciate you once again, Terrell. Thanks for joining us on The Breakdown.
Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. All right, folks, we still have more in store here on The Breakdown. After the break, we'll meet Jasmine Nelson, the founder and CEO of Umber by Jay Lene, a beauty and wellness brand. And she'll tell us more about how she's helping women reclaim their confidence. You won't want to miss this segment. Stay with us. You are watching The Breakdown.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
As a personal search for answers has grown into Umber by J. Lynette, a beauty and wellness brand. Jasmine Nelson Company now serves customers around the world while helping bring awareness to conditions that impacts millions of women. Joining us now is Jasmine Nelson. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jasmine.
Hello, Miss Brittany. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Can you tell us about your personal experience and how you were able to bring that into your company?
Sure. So when I was younger in my teenage years, I one day found out I was growing unnecessary hair on my neck and on my jawline and my chin, and it just continued to spread over the years. So one of the things that I was trying to do, at least at that young age, was trying to fix it on my own, which made problems a lot worse. The thing was just getting razors and shaving my face when I should not have done that at all. So I ended up getting a lot of ingrown hair and a lot of dark spots. And I began to realize this just isn't working. I needed a more permanent solution. I've wasted a lot of money doing a lot of do-it-yourself type projects off of YouTube. I've wasted a lot of money going to electrolysis. Not to say it doesn't work. I'm sure it does. I just had to go to the right person. And at that time I didn't. But what it was is that I found out eventually that I had polycystic ovarian syndrome. At least that's what it was called then. Now it's PMOS. So that is, if I had to, it's so hard to pronounce that sometimes. It's polyendocrine, I'm probably saying that all the way wrong, metabolic syndrome. But I'm trying to get used to this new phrasing. But anyway, so with that, I found out not only is the hair growing unnecessarily all over my face and other areas of my body, that it was affecting me emotionally. I did not want to go out in public and talk to people. I was just very, very embarrassed. It's not that anyone really noticed, but because as a young girl, you notice everything in the mirror and you want to be perfect at that teenage years, so that's just what happened. But eventually, after doing electrolysis, which was supposed to be a permanent solution, I just had to go in and see how I could create a solution for myself.
Wow. I can't imagine what that experience could do to your confidence. At what point did you just decide to turn that personal struggle into this business?
So I started doing a lot of research and a lot of trial and error back in 2016. That's before I found out what it was actually called. It's called hirsutism. It is a symptom of polycystic ovarian syndrome at the time. But I had to do a lot of finding herbal, Ayurvedic, natural solutions to try to reduce the hair naturally. And then eventually I actually started buying all these ingredients and doing testing. And that was back in 2018. And then I finally came out with something that was actually helping myself. And so after it working on myself, I was let me go ahead and see if I could find family members and friends who may have the same issue. I already knew that my sister, my mom, and my grandmother had the issue. So I let them try it out first and it was working for them. And I found a few friends and it was working for them. But they've also motivated me at the time to just go ahead and see who else I could find. And plus I needed that because I needed an unbiased opinion. Friends are cool and they'll say everything works, but you need to talk to someone who has no relation to you at all. So in 2019, I found over 50 women to try my products. About 95 to 96% of those people actually saw really good results. And that's when I decided, okay, let me go ahead and actually turn this into something, because at the time there was nothing out there, at least holistically, that could reduce hair naturally. So I was definitely part of a beginning movement of finding clean beauty. Now, that's the term now, clean beauty, and trying to help people with their confidence and not having to feel insecure about this unnecessary hormonal imbalance that's occurring.
Okay, so you tell us about the products that we can pick up now, thanks to you.
Sure. So I have the hero product. It is called the Hair Reducing Fade Oil. And what it does is it simply reduces the amount of hair that you have over time. It shrinks the hair follicle. It thins out the hair, pretty much turning terminal hair into vellus hair, so like peach fuzz, so it's less noticeable. And it also helps fade dark spots. So those are one of like the most insecure things that anyone could go through. I also have the product here that anyone could go through is mainly the dark spots. But as soon as you have the hair under control, then you won't have to be picking at your skin as much, which is a lot of people just don't know how to remove hair correctly. So that's what occurs there with hyperpigmentation.
Is there a special way that we should be removing the hair? And then I also notice you have a sugar scrub too.
I do have a sugar scrub. You know, I feel like it depends on the person, the individual person, because everyone has like a preference on how they remove the hair. I always say though that shaving, dermaplaning, anything that's clipping the hair low is probably not going to give the best results with using this product, because this product needs to be able to penetrate the core of the hair follicle and manipulate the cellular hair production in the skin. So it manipulates any new coming hair. And with that, that's where the androgens are attacked, and it changes the way that the hair grows. So if you think of it like cutting grass versus pulling weeds, you know the grass is always going to come back. But if you pull the weeds and then spray whatever you need to spray in the spot, that's where the magic happens. So think of it like that.
Okay, so what should the routine look like and how often?
So you apply this product twice a day. I would start with one time a day, just so people know if they can actually make sure that they don't have a reaction if that is the case. If that what I'm saying. So I have two versions. I have a version for sensitive skin and I have one for regular skin. If you have sensitive skin, do not go get the regular version thinking it's going to work faster. Both of them have the same amount of hair inhibitor properties. So if you have sensitive skin, don't try doing something that's going to make it much worse. But you apply it 2 times a day right after you wash your face, even right after you do the hair removal method. So for me, preferably, I like to pluck. I don't have enough hair really now to even do anything with. So waxing is just, it doesn't make any sense. I like plucking because it prevents, for me, breakage. That's the worst thing is breakage. But yeah, so you apply that right after clean skin or hair removal, and then you apply any other products. So this goes good with any other products that you want to apply. And if you want to wear makeup, that's fine as well.
Okay. All right. What advice do you have for someone that could be struggling with this? Any just suggestions or anything that you have to say to them?
Well, one thing I will say this, before I created this product, of course, I was struggling with it myself. I made it a point to try to be a part of some kind of a group, a support group. And I ended up making one myself because I'm the support groups, I need more people to be more engaging. But it's good to be a part of a support group. It's even better if you can find a local support group that are dealing with the same type of issues. That way you don't have to feel alone. I know nowadays there's more awareness around the hormonal imbalance, at least when it comes to unwanted hair, unwanted male pattern hair. So, that's good because now people are seeing they're not the only ones dealing with this issue. So it's not just the support group. I also would suggest actually finding out how to remove the hair correctly because, there's so many different ways to remove the hair. Like I said, the plucking, the waxing. If you're not a waxer, go to a professional. Don't go doing it to yourself. Same with sugaring. Go to a professional. Don't go doing it yourself because you don't want additional problems. But I think, again, like what I mentioned earlier, if you the dark spots having the most effect on a person because you see that from afar, I would suggest, again, trying to figure out how to remove the hair correctly and also finding a good good skincare routine that will start helping you with your physical appearance, especially involving using sunscreen.
Okay, you had to throw that fact in there too. Make sure that we use that sunscreen. Thank you. We
Absolutely.
appreciate that. We appreciate all of your advice. And so, again, where can we exactly go to pick up some of these products for ourselves?
Sure. We have a website. It's umberjlene.com. You could also see us on TikTok. It's umberjlene. Same thing for Instagram and Pinterest even. We are pretty much all over the place. Just put in Umber and then hair reducing facial on Google if that helps. But also know that if you need personal advice, I'm so happy to have that conversation with you firsthand. Just reach out to us on Instagram, which we're most active.
Okay, Jasmine. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on The Breakdown.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, folks, that will do it for us today. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Be sure to keep the conversation going online. My name is @TheNobleJournalist, and we will be back again on Monday. Don't forget to connect with us. Let us know what's happening in your neighborhood so that we can report it right here on The Breakdown. Have a great day.